Hi, I'm Bob Trask, and this is our weekly reset. Today I've got something really exciting to work with. Today I'm going to talk about laughter. Today I'm going to talk about how laughter can change our lives. Laughter can save your life. Laughter can actually save your life. Here's the thing about laughter is that, we laugh at jokes, we laugh at sometimes little funny things happen and we laugh at those. But where does that laughter come from? Where is it within us? Like what happens? Like when a mosquito bites you, you have an itch and you keep scratching it. So you know where the itch is coming from and you know what to do about it. Well, where's laughter come from? Where does that come from? Like I was working on a film with Woody Allen in downtown San Francisco, and he was supposed to go into the store. I think the name of the movie was Take the Money and Run. And he was supposed to go into the store. I was going to rob it or something. It's been a lot of years ago. I don't remember. But every time he started to go into the store, he turned around and came back out laughing, laughing and laughing. And of course, I started laughing. And I'm not supposed to be laughing because, I'm supposed to be serious, but I couldn't help it. His laughter was so infectious. And he was laughing because what he was about to do was going to be so funny. Where was that laughter coming from within him? What makes Woody Allen such a great comedian, a great comic? What makes all great comics so funny is that there's some place inside of them that Robin Williams was, oh my God, maybe one of the very best ever. He could just go into a certain persona and start cracking people up. Where does that come from? And is it just them? Or do we all have that? See, I think we all have that. I don't think it's just them. And I think where it comes from is the platform of who we are as human beings. Here's the truth that might be interesting for you to know. Infants laugh on an average of 200 times a day. 200 times a day. I've seen videos of little babies and their mom's doing some goofy thing that doesn't make any sense. Maybe she's just making a little sound or something, and the baby's just cracking up, laughing so hard. And you can't watch that video without laughing. You can't, because laughter is infectious. It's contagious. Where does it come from? Where did it come from in that little baby? That's really an important question for you and for me right now, because that little baby was naturally filled with laughter. That was the platform of that little baby. If that little baby was able to keep that throughout its entire life, then every time it got into real trouble or real despair, or there was a real terrible, terrible thing in their life, that laughter would be there to get them out of it, to keep them out of it. And then I used to do a lot of boating, and if the sea is choppy, you can either get a boat that goes over those waves, or there's a type of boat designed, the bottom of it's designed, and it's powerful enough that it just stays on top of the waves, and it just goes ding, 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 across the top of the waves. And what if we could go ding, 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 across the top of the waves of our lives? What if we could do that? What if we could not get into the depths, inside the triangle, into despair, into paralysis and boredom and guilt and shame and anxiety and unworthiness? Well, what if we could stay out of all that, be on the outside, and have life being new, new, new all the time? And then when a dark thing comes along, and boy, they come along, don't they? When a dark thing comes along, instead of going into the hole, instead of going into that darkness, we back off and look at that darkness and say, that's there to teach me. There's something really important for me to learn from this. And I don't mean learn so that you can, a lot of times in the New Thought field, people talk about experiences happen because we're here to learn from them. And it learns almost sounds to me like you're all screwed up. And if you'll do this, and if you'll listen to this and learn by this, then you'll be less screwed up. That's not what learning means. You're already perfect. That little baby was perfect. There's nothing wrong with that baby. It's never going to be anything wrong with that baby. That baby's going to get older and older and older, and it's going to get funny hair in some places. It's going to get a tall body, but it's still the same being. Experiences change it, yes, but if the experiences are all ones that are evolutionary, if the experiences are all one that lifts it up, that makes it more whole, that makes it a fuller being, then life is a constant adventure. But it can't happen unless we're able to stay on top of the darkness and able to laugh. William James said, "We don't laugh because we're happy. We're happy because we laugh. We don't laugh because we're happy. We're happy because we laugh." So check it out today. How much do you laugh? How much do you laugh? I remember one time being on stage just giving a talk. It wasn't about humor or anything. And I asked a guy who I knew who was just a great laugher to come up on stage with me. And he came up on stage and I said to him, "You and I are going to start laughing. And we're just going to laugh. And we don't, I mean, it doesn't make any difference at what, just let's just laugh." So he started laughing and I started laughing. And we were both like, we were just gasping for air. We were laughing so hard. And I looked out and the whole audience is laughing. People are just falling out of their chairs laughing. Why? Why? Because what we can give someone else is laughter. You can give that as a gift. And you got to be careful, of course. You can't be laughing when they feel maybe you're laughing at them or that you don't get how serious something is. But maybe you can make it happen so that you can say, let's take it more lightly. I love laughing. I love laughing. And George Bernard Shaw said, get this, you don't stop laughing when you grow old. You grow old when you stop laughing. You don't grow old when you stop laughing. You don't stop laughing when you grow old. I screwed that up. You grow old when you stop laughing. And I do love laughing. When I need to distract my mind from something negative, I laugh, and laughter does it for me every time. And I truly believe that laughter is the best medicine. Norman Cousins was a great author, and he taught us so much. He cured a terminal disease within himself, and with a book and with his incredible work that he did in the world, he taught so many people that laughter can cure you. That you can, if you're willing to laugh, you got to go online and find funny things. I mean, there are a lot of jokes that you find online, or I don't think they're funny, quite frankly. I think they're kind of lame. But there are great comedians, Bob Newhart and Carol Burnett, and some of those old ones, Red Skelton. Just some of those people can just bring you to tears. There was a great I wish God, I feel a little embarrassed that I'm not going to be able to tell you his name, but there was a great comedy writer, and he wrote for comedy. I think he wrote for Carol Burnett, but he wrote for comedy sitcoms. And he went back to his hometown and he was going to give a talk about laughter. And he went to the high school stage and he had one of those big bulbous microphones and he was standing there and he just started talking and then he started telling jokes. And he was there for over an hour and he never stopped. He went from one joke to another joke to another, but they were break your heart funny. They were just amazing. And that entire audience, that entire auditorium was just falling out of their chairs with laughter. And 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 he smiled, but he was just deadpan and he was just going on. And then there's this guy that went into a bar and it was just like, oh, it just was going on and on and on. Guy goes into the bar with a monkey on top of his head. And the bar says, I told you to never bring him back in here again. And the monkey says, I couldn't help it. It's the only right I've got. I mean, it just little things like that, just one right after another, one right after another. The art of medicine, says Voltaire. Remember Voltaire? God, that's a long time ago. He said the art of medicine consists in amusing the patient, consists of amusing the patient while nature cures the disease. The art of medicine consists of amusing the patient while nature cures its disease. Boy, those doctors today don't know that. They don't have any humor at all. What I remember going to this one doctor and he was so down and so dour. And I was going to be the last time I saw that doctor, incidentally. I knew that I couldn't do that anymore. But I thought I'm going to give this a try. So I told him a joke and he just cracked up. I think to myself, nobody's ever told him a joke. He's down so far because he's forgotten about being humor. It's known by science that laughter actually makes changes in our bodies, stimulates organs, it increases the intake of oxygen-rich air, stimulates our hearts and our lungs and our muscles. And one of its greatest blessings, oh, this is the great blessing, is that it increases the endorphins that are being released by our brain. The result is that we have a lower heart rate and lower blood pressure, and we're left with a good, relaxed feeling. Here's one. Jesus was walking around heaven one day, and he looks over and he sees an old man sitting on a rock weeping. He goes over to this old guy and he says, hey, there's no weeping in heaven. What's going on? And the old guy says, well, I know. I'm sorry. But, well, many, many years ago, a son came to me after, well, let's say he came to us through mysterious circumstances. And after a lot of trials, my son, he went through a miraculous transformation. And a book was even written about him. And it became known all over the world. And I thought I'd find him here, but I haven't, and I just am afraid I'd never see him again. And wide-eyed, Jesus looked at this old man and he said, wait a minute. You weren't by any chance raised by a carpenter, were you? Or you were a carpenter. Were you a carpenter? And the man looked in surprise and he said, why, yes, I was. And Jesus held out his arms and said, Father. And the man cocked his head and looked at Jesus and said, Pinocchio? Thank you, Geppetto. Thank you for a good laugh. The good Dr. Madan Kataria said, I've not seen anyone dying of laughter, but I know millions who are dying because they can't laugh. I've seen millions. He's a doctor. I know millions who are dying because they can't laugh. Laughter isn't just a quick fix. It works long term by improving our immune systems. See, go back to that little baby again. Now, and I've used this metaphor before, so forgive me if I'm redundant. But if you cut a big tree down, this tree is 150, this 300, I don't care how old, huge tree. If you cut it down, thank you for not cutting it down, incidentally. Thank you. But if you cut it down and you look, it has rings. And the rings go all the way to the center. And that center little bit that's not a ring, that's that little sapling. That's that little sapling still in the tree. all the way up through the tree to the tip. It's still in that tree. And that little baby is still in you, still there. How could we have forgotten that? Do you know when you pick up a little baby and you have that feeling of joy inside of you, and you look at this little baby and you say, "Oh God, so sweet." And you pick that little baby up and its little face goes against your neck and you just get that tingling, wonderful feeling all through your body. Why is that? Because we know that baby, because we are babies. We got taller bodies, we got hair in some funny places, and we got different voices, but we're still the same beings. And that platform, that basic platform of humor, that's who we are. That's joy. People say, well, when I die, I'm going to go to heaven and then I'm going to be happy. Oh, no, you're not. If there was such a thing as Peter at the gates, you'd die and you'd go up to Peter and he'd say, "What are you doing here?" And you'd say, "Well, I'm trying to get into heaven." And he'd say, "You're trying to get into heaven? Yeah. You just left heaven. Well, this is heaven. This is paradise." But we can't know that until we get out of all this seriousness, all this dreadfulness. Like we have these big elections going on in the United States, and maybe the future of America is this or that, or maybe the future of the world is this or that, or maybe this will happen. And what about the pandemic? And oh, well, that's all surface stuff. That doesn't change the fact of that little baby. Do you think with all this stuff going on in the world, if you went and saw a little baby now and did that thing that makes them laugh, that they would not laugh because the world is so serious? Oh, they would be cracking up with laughter. And we need to be cracking up with laughter because that's our platform. That's how we get past this stuff. It isn't by denying. We're not denying anything. We're not denying the reality of this awfulness. We're just floating above it. And then we can look at it and say, that's the way that is. And from that positive viewpoint, then we can maybe make some changes. But we can't change the reality around us until we change the reality within us. We cannot change the reality around us until we change the reality within us. Negative thoughts manifest chemicals that stress our systems, and they decrease our immunity. And positive thoughts release neuropeptides that help fight stress and fight serious illnesses. And studies have found that laughter eases pain by allowing the body to produce its own natural painkillers. Expands our natural satisfaction of life and makes it easier to cope with difficult situations. And if you're feeling a little bit light, isolated, or lonely, and sometimes we do, loneliness is epidemic in the world, then find a way to make other people laugh. Find a way to bring your laughter into into relationships, and boy, you'll have connections like gangbusters. Because if you find someone that makes you laugh, or if you make someone else laugh, you have found a friend for life because you've reminded them of who they are. But unless we're looking for laughter, unless we want to laugh, it's not going to happen. I've done a lot of stand-up comedy kinds of things, and I can tell you that the first thing that you have to do if you're going to make this successful is you've got to get people. When you're first opening lines, you have to get people in the mood to laugh. If people are not in the mood to laugh, you can tell jokes all day long and they'll just look at you. That's why comedy clubs are great, because people go to a comedy club because they want to laugh. And sometimes maybe the jokes aren't that funny, but they laugh anyway because they're there to laugh. And we can't say, well, I guess I better start laughing because it'll make me healthier. No, no, no. That's the wrong attitude. You can't laugh because it'll make you healthier. You have to laugh because it's great fun. And if you're having that great fun, then you get healthier. And it doesn't matter how dark or how black the world seems, it doesn't matter. Laughter can raise you out of it. Viktor Frankl, the guy who wrote that incredible book, Man's Search for Meaning, was survived Auschwitz and the desperate, depressive terrors of that concentration camp. And he said, I would never have made it if I couldn't have laughed. It lifted me momentarily out of that horrible situation, just enough to make it livable. Some of us have an undeveloped or underdeveloped sense of humor, and we just haven't laughed in so long. But that's not a problem because you can learn humor, and it's easier than you think. We just need to open our eyes to the world of humor by going and watching comedy shows. Go online and go look at some of the old comedy shows. Look at some of the Tonight comedians. Some of them are just absolutely amazingly funny. And they're successful because they make people laugh. And that's because humor is a natural part of life. And without it, we cannot have the health of a long life that we want. So we have to laugh as often as possible. And we have to start having a lot more fun with daily life. And then we can find a new hope for the future and we can get healthier. We have to start watching something funny every day, a movie, a TV show, a podcast, or even a comedy club. Something every day we have to get into in real laughter. I'm not talking about a chuckle. I'm talking about let it go. Red Skelton. I love this guy. He was a great, great comedian. He used to tell jokes, and he would tell jokes, and he'd get partway into the joke, and he was on television, it's this TV show, and he'd start laughing, and he could hardly finish the joke. His son had, I think it was leukemia, or he had some dreadful disease, and Red Skelton and his wife did everything to save that boy. Oh boy, everything. And they went to Lourdes looking for a miracle. Oh, they just did everything. And on the day that his son died, Red Skelton had a show that night, and he went on and did his show. He went on and did his show because he knew that laughter is the best medicine. And he knew that there were lots of other people out there in the world were waiting for him to help make them laugh so they could rise above the despair in their lives. He said, no matter what your heartache may be, laughing helps you forget it, at least for a few seconds. Here's one. My older sister, Peggy, she was like truly a witch, and I don't mean that in a negative sense. She did these magical things. And one day she called out to me from the other room and she said, Bob, do you ever get a shooting pain across your chest like somebody's got a voodoo doll of you and they're stabbing it? And I said, no, Peg, no, I didn't. She said, she waited just a minute. And she called back and she said, how about now? Oh, God. So make it a habit to spend times with friends who make you laugh, and then return the favor by sharing funny jokes with them. Woody Allen said, I'm thankful for laughter, except when milk comes out of my nose. A man who is a multimillionaire and very greedy, a greedy old guy. So he calls his wife to him and he gets his lawyer in there and he says, now I've made a decision. I want to have all of my wealth in my coffin when I'm buried. And she said, God, but what about me? And he said, no. I made that money. I want all of my wealth in my coffin when I'm buried. She said, okay. The lawyer said, you're agreeing? She said, I agree. Okay. So then sometime later, the old guy dies and they go to the funeral. The lawyer's there at the funeral and he looks over and this Maserati pulls up. Beautiful candy apple red Maserati. And this woman gets out and it's the wife. And she walks over and she's got this like 5-carat diamond on a necklace. And the lawyer's stunned. And he said, I know you didn't have that money. You lied, didn't you? You lied when you said you would bury him with all of his wealth. She said, no, I wasn't lying. It's all in the coffin. A check for the full amount. Oh. And then there's this. The Lord said unto John, come forth and receive eternal life. But John came fifth and he got a toaster. Oh, God. Laughing is so much fun. Oh, I hope I've lightened your life a little today. Would you laugh this week, please? Would you just please start laughing? It brings you back to who you are. Let's just start laughing. I don't care how tough things are. If we laugh, they're not as tough. And it gives us the strength then to overcome those things, to move on. We can do that. You and I, we can do that. So let's make it a deal this week. We'll laugh a lot. We'll be knighted as Sir Laugh-A-Lot. Now, if this has been good for you and if you like what we're doing here, then tell your friends about it so we can get more and more people watching. And would you please go to bobtrask.com and leave a donation, leave it with a laughter, so Mary and I can continue to do our work in the world. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So now I'm going to let you go, and I hope you have a wonderful week, a happy week, a laughing week. Bless you. Go with my love.